Democratic Republic of Congo president orders UN forces to leave. President Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of Congo has asked for an accelerated withdrawal of a United Nations peacekeeping mission, against a backdrop of successive anti-UN protests over its failure to rein in rebel groups about 25 years after its deployment to the country. He said this during the 78th session of the UN General Assembly held on September 20, 2023. The United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, MONUSCO, which has been existing for about 25 years, was established to suppress insecurity in the eastern part of the country where armed groups fight over territory and resources. Parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo are almost overrun by armed militias who mastermind deadly attacks against civilians in their battle for territory and control over the country's mineral wealth. Many locals have called for the UN mission to leave the Congo, and demonstrations against the peacekeepers have turned bloody, sometimes with dozens of civilians killed. In 2010, a UN peacekeeping force, MONUSCO, replaced an earlier operation called MONUC, which was established in 1999 to help bring peace and stability to the DRC. Protesters were arrested during a military operation to prevent a demonstration against the United Nations in Goma, Democratic Republic of Congo, on August 30, 2023. Dozens killed during anti-UN protests in the DRC. Tshisekedi told the UN General Assembly on Wednesday that MONUSCO's withdrawal was crucial to ending the conflict between the Congolese people and the mission. The acceleration of the withdrawal of the MONUSCO becomes an imperative necessity to ease tensions between the latter and our fellow citizens, he said in his speech, adding that peacekeeping missions deployed in one form or another for 25 years have failed to tackle the rebellions and armed conflicts which are tearing the Republic apart. This is why I instructed the government of the Republic to begin discussions with the UN authorities for an accelerated withdrawal of MONUSCO by bringing forward the start of this progressive withdrawal from December 2024 to December 2023, he said. At least 56 people were killed and dozens wounded in an army crackdown on violent anti-UN demonstrations in the eastern city of Goma last month. Another protest in July 2022 resulted in more than 15 deaths, including 3 peacekeepers in Goma and the city of Butembo. People have expectations that if their government is unable to protect them, at the least, the UN will do it. But over the years, the UN was unable to prevent attacks or to respond to them adequately. So they, the citizens, feel like the UN, are useless. Amnesty International's Jean Mobot-Senga told Al Jazeera. Tshisekedi's pronouncement came just weeks after the seven-nation East African Community, EAC, extended the mandate of a regional military force deployed to quell violence in eastern DRC. President Tshisekedi also said it was illusory and counterproductive to continue to cling to MONUSCO to restore peace and stabilize the Democratic Republic of Congo. According to the Congolese leader, talks were underway between his government and UN authorities to quicken MONUSCO's exit, beginning at the end of the year. Congolese demonstrators gestured during a protest against the UN peacekeeping mission MONUSCO in Goma on July 26, 2022. UN soldiers have come under attack in the DRC from locals who want them out. Here's why. The Democratic Republic of Congo government had earlier agreed on a withdrawal deadline slated for December 2024. At least 43 people were killed and 53 more injured during anti-UN protests last month as demonstrators clashed with local authorities. Similar demonstrations in the DRC this year have led to civilian casualties. MONUSCO has a staff strength of over 17,000 in the DRC, comprising 14,000 military personnel, according to data last updated on its website in February this year. Yet they still are not succeeding in doing the job required. The DRC will hold general elections in late December amid threats of unrest from dozens of armed militias. There are more than 100 armed groups fueling conflicts in the Central African country. President Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of the Congo says he has asked his government to fast-track the withdrawal of a United Nations peacekeeping mission to ensure it begins at the end of the year. But its presence has become increasingly unpopular in recent years for what critics have said is a failure to protect civilians from violence, sparking deadly protests. Now, a little bit of insight about the President of Congo. Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo is a Congolese politician who has been the President of the Democratic Republic of the Congo since 24 January 2019. He is the leader of the Union for Democracy and Social Progress, the DRC's oldest and largest party, no succeeding his late father Etienne Tshisekedi in that role, a three-time Prime Minister of Zaire and opposition leader during the reign of Mobutu Sese Seko. Tshisekedi was the UDPS party's candidate for president in the December 2018 general election, which he was awarded despite accusations of irregularities from several election monitoring organizations and other opposition parties. The Constitutional Court of the DRC upheld his victory after another opposition politician, Martin Fayulu, challenged the result. But Tshisekedi has been accused of making a deal with his predecessor, Joseph Kabila. The election marked the first peaceful transition of power since the state became independent from Belgium in 1960. Since the Common Front for Congo (FCC) coalition, which is aligned with Kabila, still controlled the parliament and provincial governorships, Tshisekedi's ability to govern or even appoint a new prime minister was limited for the first 6 months of his term. He named his coalition partner and political heavyweight, Vital Kamerhe, as his chief of cabinet, at first having designated him prime minister, but not having the parliamentary support to have him successfully appointed. In May 2019, he reached a deal with the parliament's Kabila-aligned majority to appoint Sylvestre Ilunga prime minister. On 27 July 2019, negotiations finally ended between Tshisekedi and the parliament, agreeing on the formation of a new cabinet. Tshisekedi, a member of the Luba ethnic group, was born in Kinshasa on 13 June 1963 to mother Marthe and father Etienne Tshisekedi, who served as Prime Minister of Zaire in the 1990s. He had a comfortable life as a youth in the capital. But when his father created the UDPS in the early 1980s, publicly opposing Mobutu, Felix was forced to accompany him into house arrest in his native village in central Kassa. This put his studies on hold. In 1985, Mobutu allowed him, his mother, and his brothers to leave Kassa. He went on to live in Brussels, Belgium, where he worked at odd jobs, delivering pizza and cleaning jobs. He later became an active UDPS member. In late 2008, Tshisekedi was named the UDPS National Secretary for External Relations. In November 2011, he obtained a seat in the National Assembly, representing the city of Mbuji-Mayi in Kasai Oriental Province. He did not take his seat, citing a fraudulent election citation needed, and his mandate was invalidated for absenteeism. In May 2013, he refused a position of rapporteur at the Independent National Electoral Commission (CENI), saying that he did not want to put his political career on hold as CENI's Article 17 excludes membership for those who are members of a political formation. In October 2016, Tshisekedi became Vice Secretary General of the UDPS. On 31 March 2018, he was elected to lead the UDPS after his father's death on 1 February 2017 from a pulmonary embolus at 84, on February 1, 2017 in a hospital in Brussels. The same day, the UDPS nominated Tshisekedi for president in the December 2018 general election. On 10 January 2019, it was announced that Tshisekedi had won the presidency of the DRC in the December 2018 election. He defeated another opposition leader, Martin Fayulu, and Emmanuel Ramazani Shadary, who was supported by term-limited outgoing President Kabila, who had been president for 18 years. Fayulu, the runner-up, alleged vote rigging and challenged the election results. On 19 January, the Constitutional Court dismissed the challenge, officially making Tshisekedi president-elect. He was sworn in as president on 24 January 2019, taking office the next day. This marked the first time since the Congo gained independence in 1960 that an incumbent president peacefully transferred power to the opposition. On 20 January, South Africa congratulated Tshisekedi on his election, despite the African Union and EU warning of doubts over the result announced by the Constitutional Court. Could it be that the AU and the EU were not pleased with the outcome of the result? After Tshisekedi was sworn in, it was reported that a member of Kabila's coalition would be picked to serve as his prime minister. On 13 March 2019, Tshisekedi signed a decree to pardon approximately 700 prisoners, including imprisoned political opponents of Kabila. And this decision followed his promise to allow the return of exiles given the week before. In early 2019, negotiations were underway between Tshisekedi and Kabila's FCC coalition that controlled the National Assembly and Senate. In late April, June Afrique reported that Kabila proposed to Tshisekedi the mining company executive Albert Yuma as a candidate for prime minister. Yuma supports the new mining code adopted in 2018, which put the DRC in dispute with international mining companies, and Tshisekedi has been under foreign pressure to not appoint him. The Civil Society of South Kivu recommended to Tshisekedi the appointment of his chief of staff Vital Kamerhe as prime minister. For months, Tshisekedi continued working with ministers of Kabila's government as he was hamstrung by parliament. He'd faced challenges in dealing with the Kivu conflict, as well as the Ebola outbreak in the region. In early March, Tshisekedi started a program to improve infrastructure, transport, education, housing, communication, health, water, and agriculture. On 20 May 2019, Tshisekedi reached a deal with the FCC coalition and Kabila, appointing the career civil servant Sylvestre Ilunga as prime minister. Ilunga began his political career in the 1970s and held a number of cabinet posts under Mobutu Sese Seko before his overthrow in 1997. He is also an ally of Kabila. In late July 2019, Tshisekedi reached a deal with parliament on forming a new government. Ilunga's new cabinet would include 65 members, 48 ministers, and 17 vice ministers, which should be divided between the Kabila-aligned FCC and Tshisekedi's CAC alliance. The majority of the ministries went to the FCC, including 3 of the 6 most important ones: defense, justice, and finance, while the foreign affairs, interior, and budget portfolios went to Tshisekedi's allies. After a power struggle saw the coalition with allies of Tshisekedi's predecessor break down and many legislators were won over, Ilunga was forced to leave office and Tshisekedi appointed Gekamin's leader Jean-Michel Sama Lukonde as successor on 15 February 2021. On 12 April 2021, Tshisekedi formally ended his 2-year coalition with Kabila and his allies when Prime Minister Sama Lukonde formed a new government. On national television, Tshisekedi's spokesman Kasongo Mwima Yamba Yamba announced a number of new appointments, including Antoinette Nsamba Kambai as Mines Minister. The president succeeded to oust the last remaining elements of his government who were loyal to Kabila. Tshisekedi has called for a review of mining contracts signed with China by his predecessor Joseph Kabila, especially the Sakamin's multi-billion minerals for infrastructure deal. He has also promised to end and reverse deforestation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo by 2030, in the COP26 Climate Summit's first major agreement. In October 2022, Tshisekedi ruled out bringing in Russian mercenaries to help quell a raging conflict in the east of the country, and vowed to press on with economic development plans despite the insecurity in the region. So far, Tshisekedi has been doing a lot to better the state of his country. If the UN forces so far has not done anything positive to stop all rebellious attacks in Congo, then the President Tshisekedi has a quite good reason to oust them of his country. Will ousting UN forces do more harm than good to the Democratic Republic of Congo, or will they just be alright? Tell us what you think in the comments section. Like, share, and of course, subscribe.